Just to say thank you to everybody for the end of the year. Like, I'm so grateful for everyone at Barstool. I want to say thank you to everybody who helps this company, who pushes this company, even the people, honestly, who criticize and shit on this company, because ultimately you're going to make us stronger and better. It is Thursday, December 22nd. Shout out to my mother who had a birthday yesterday. She turned like 55. Just kidding. Add like 70 years to that. This is episode 245 of the Token CEO podcast. This episode is dedicated to my mother. Shout out, Mina. Speaking of my mother, we are presented by Omega Accounting Solutions. We love accountants around here. So Omega Accounting Solutions, why they're awesome is because they haven't hired my mother as like a 90-year-old accountant, but they could. They help small businesses get tax credits. They help small businesses figure out their financials, figure out their accounting, and all the small business owner has to do is to make a very easy phone call to 800-300-9ERC. That's 800-300-9ERC, or to visit OmegaTaxCredits.com now. All right, so speaking of Omega, we have Jay Woods, the CEO and founder of Omega Accounting Solutions, here for this episode. So he and I talk about the accounting business. Oddly, we talk about my mother again. And we talk about what their mission is and how he thinks about having an accounting firm, the types of businesses and services that they provide, the type of people that they help, and why what they do is important. So speaking of, we'll just hand to him now. Okay, so tell me about Omega. So give us the J story.
The J story.
Yep.
Sure, yeah. So was good at math growing up, and then apparently that means you just have to become an accountant.
Okay, so you were like, I'm going to be an accountant.
Yeah, I think the world...
What does an accountant do?
Oh, man. An accountant keeps order.
Okay.
It's basically like the law of numbers.
Okay.
Is the way I would say it. There's rules that you have to know, and you got to do a little bit of math, but it's 2022, so
not really.
Math is just done for you now.
Yeah, okay.
And I was good at that, and so I kind of fell into that.
Did you like order?
No.
Okay.
I'm chaos.
Okay.
But a lot of times when you're working with a business owner,
yep,
their world is chaos.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're trying to make...
You have to understand the chaos.
You're trying to make order out of it.
Okay, got it.
They have everything kind of all over the place. And so I just kind of fell in love with that industry, and then worked as a CPA for the first 5 years, and hated working on Saturdays and
what,
late
because
nights.
Of tax season?
Tax season, yeah.
Okay, tax season is like...
Yeah.
Tax season.
I didn't like working for other people. It wasn't fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during tax season, the accountants, everybody shoves their mess in your lap.
Oh,
and you have to like figure it out and give it to the government. That's basically like what an accountant does?
That's pretty much what a tax
And how much you
is.
owe, how much you get back.
Yeah, and that part's fun because it's kind of like a game. You're like, oh, how much can I save this
Yeah,
person?
sure.
What's going on? Or, oh, I've got really bad news for you.
Okay, got it. Okay, but it's an agency. It's a client type of business.
Yes, yeah. Businesses or
you're on somebody else's
individuals.
timeline.
1,000%.
Okay.
So, but it's very deadline driven. So.
Okay, which is nice, I guess.
Yes.
So, what makes a great accountant?
I think you need somebody who is sort of emotionally stable, because you're dealing with, when you get into finance and numbers, it's like 20% about the numbers and it's 80% behavior and emotion. People make bad decisions financially, not because they can't do math. It's because they just
made bad decisions.
They don't want to look at the numbers or they're focused on them too much. So somebody who can kind of take the scary out of accounting, because there's sort of this preconceived notion of, oh, I don't know accounting. I need somebody else to do this. This isn't my skill set. Like, I need that person. And it's almost like a abdication of responsibility financially to this person. And you give them everything to steward for you. And so a good accountant won't do that. What they'll do is make something that should be complicated very simple.
Okay.
So that a business owner knows how to make these decisions.
Okay, got it.
And kind of take the scary out of accounting.
Okay, got it.
That's what I think makes a good accountant.
And what's a bad accountant like?
Bad accountant would be the guy who thinks he has it all figured out and just say, you give me everything, I'll take care of it. And then you don't really know what's going on.
Okay.
That could be dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's almost like good accountants are good communicators. You're calm, you're organized, you're firm.
Right.
I think like you can do this, you can't do that.
Right.
And the bad accountant is like just non-communicative, which is annoying to me.
Right. And if you are, because some people are very technical.
Yep.
And technical is good. You want someone who knows all the rules, who can like look at things. But if you're that technical and you don't have that communication skills, then you need a partner who can communicate and do that part.
Yeah.
And so just need to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, okay, I love that.
So
what do you see in the small, like one of the things I loved when we started working with you guys is like when we went through the Barstool Fund, it was so stressful. It was at the holidays. So it was this time 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point. Not in a non-judgmental way, but it was so dismaying how bad small businesses are at managing their finances. Like, I felt like in their defense, like you've got other shit to worry about, you've got other fires to fight, but also like they just were not equipped to the paperwork, the grant submissions, the understanding of tax, like none of that. And to be honest with you, I don't have a good understanding of those things. So describe what you see with, you guys are such a champion for small business. Like what do you see happening in small businesses?
Yeah, I mean, so let's, pre-pandemic most small business owners are going 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
Right? And they wear many hats. And whether it's a stable business they've been running for 20 years, or it's a growth business that they're trying to navigate through different complexities, they are oftentimes overstretched and thin. And so depending on what their setup is with their financial advisor, they might have a CPA that, if I have a question, I can ask Rick, and Rick will get me the answer.
But otherwise I have QuickBooks.
But if I have to put together a loan application, it's me.
Yeah.
Or it's my office person who I've said, you are going to do all the administrative, stuff that I don't want to do, so that I can focus on selling or being creative or tinkering or whatever my category is.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon for small business owners to sort of be thinly stretched, and then you walk them through the pandemic where now they have to make adjustments. Yeah. They have to adjust to, can I have my employees in the office? Do we have to work remote? Can we work remote?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, what are the rules? Someone's got COVID, they got to be out for 14 days. And there's just so much to navigate through. And you're piling on to somebody in an already stressful time for people personally.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, asking people to pivot through that is a lot. And then it was, okay, well now the government's coming out with the PPP program, or the economic impact disaster loan. And there's all these opportunities to get support, which is great, but it's just time.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of my CPA friends, when we kind of got into some of these tax credits, I kind of took a poll from my friends. I'm like, hey, are you guys going to be doing this credit for your clients? And they were just like laughing at me, like, no, with what time? Right? Like in that time period where you would normally talk to your CPA, a couple times a year, you were calling them 5 or 6 times to figure out what's going on. And so those guys as an industry, they were also overtaxed. So it was a rough time for business owners. And that's why what we've seen is there's still just not a lot of awareness about what kind of things are out there for people.
So describe what is out there for people. Like we talk about the ERC and just give a sense of like what people can take advantage of.
Yeah, right now the employee retention tax credit is what's available.
Okay,
right?
And that's available.
That's pretty much the only tax credit that hasn't sort of sunset. The PPP program was very popular. They had the first round and it was like a bank rush. So literally It's a Wonderful Life and they're rushing the bank. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
I had clients calling me night and day being like, did the money hit? What's going on? You're talking to bankers. That's where really like the banking industry got brought down to its knees. And it's the banking industry.
Because they were crushed by the demand.
The demand was way too much. So they came out with PPP2.
Okay.
And so it was like $800 billion. I think 11 million small businesses applied for these funds. And so at that time, you had to pick a path. You had to do PPP or the employee retention credit.
Okay, you couldn't do both.
Yeah, and most people were like, well, do I want to deal with the IRS or go to my bank and get the money right now?
You're I'll go to the bank.
I'll go to the bank. Yeah. Get the money now. I don't want to talk to the IRS. Yeah. And that all changed in January of 21 through the CARES Act. Essentially, the Biden administration said, okay, no, you can do both. But it's a wage credit, so you just can't double dip. So if you use PPP money to qualify certain wages,
you don't get it. This
employee retention credit cannot count for that, but it can be before and after.
Okay.
And so I just think, there was just sort of a lack of information about that.
Yeah.
The IRS launched and the government launched PPP.
Yeah.
As well as they can media-wise, but nothing happened with employee retention credit. So people just didn't know. People still don't know.
Yeah. They haven't taken advantage of it.
They haven't taken advantage. So that's what's available right now.
And then how do you give the pitch for Omega Accounting Solutions? Like, why should people tell people you'll do a better job than I will? Like, why should people work with you? Like, what I like about it is like, hey, you can call someone who you can trust, who can help you objectively look at your business.
Yeah.
You're knowledgeable on tax codes and shit that, like, as a small business owner, like, I don't care about. And you're also, you have people who can navigate people through that process. But how would you describe that?
Yeah, so look, our firm our commodity is accounting services, right? That's what we do. But our product is an informed and empowered business owner. Right? We want them to know what's going on. And so we pivoted, right? So we've been doing accounting services for the last 15 years. We've been in this arena. And as we saw needs for our clients, we introduced different products, whether it was data analytics or other tax credits. And so with retention credit became an opportunity. We did it for our clients first and foremost because we wanted them to be informed. Like, hey, you have this option to get money in your business that you didn't know about.
Yeah,
let me tell you about
it. Just do this thing.
Yeah, and we can help you do it.
Yeah,
let's go. And so it was an organic process that just grew over time.
And you work with companies all over the country.
All over. Yeah, nationally. So we're in all the states, and it's wherever the demand is. And it's not just, for-profits, it's non-for-profits.
Yeah.
It's anybody who's an employer. We talked to a zoo in Fresno, that had 300 employees.
That's kind of fun.
Impacted. We had a private university. We've done, massage parlors. Like, throw it out there. We've probably done it.
That's so fun.
So I think we like the diversity of the reach, but it's the same thing. It's, hey, you're a business owner. You've got everything on the line.
Yep.
And we understand that. We understand that dynamic. We've been doing that for 15 years. So we're ready for you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. It's more fun to work with the small business people, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I love, and that's what we love. We love the person who they built something with their own hands.
Yep.
And they've taken that responsibility of employing people, which is a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's like the greatest thing you can do for the economy is to create jobs and opportunity. And so that's where, my great-grandfather came over here from Ireland at some point, and he had to be a risk taker. And I think that's what makes America
I'm going to convince this person to work for me.
Totally. But America is a bunch of risk takers.
Yeah,
and so I think that's the way I view it. And so we like working with a small business owners.
That's awesome. And then how do you think about, like, if you were giving advice to someone, like, what's your advice to a small business owner besides call you guys? Like,
well,
1-800.
So I think the first thing is what's your temperature check for your finances?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're in a good spot? If you don't feel like you're in a good spot, do you have a good advisor?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Yeah.
Right? Like, where are you at? I think that's where a lot of people out of the pandemic were sort of like, wow, look at all these different, the PPP or economic disaster loan or these SBA programs or retention credit, like all of these things. If your advisor wasn't telling you about those, that's probably a problem.
Yeah.
You probably need to go find somebody else to help you out. And it should show you that you need to have, advocates in your business.
Yeah.
Like, you need someone, if you feel like, oh, my finances, I don't have them in order, I don't feel like I'm in control, then you need to get someone on your team who can help you.
Yeah, navigate that.
Absolutely.
And be empowered. I liked how you said that. Like, your job is really empowering small business.
It's bringing information.
Yeah.
I mean, most business owners can make these decisions. It's just they're too afraid to.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh, looking at financial statements is really difficult. And that's where I think accountants can go wrong. They can be like, oh, these are fancy financials, and this is what this means. It's like, well, just break it down. Like,
100%.
Like, hey,
this comes in,
a balance
this
sheet
goes out.
A balance sheet is literally what you own, what you owe, and what you earn.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so be able to just help people see that.
Yeah.
And then let them make these common sense decisions that they really need, that they're very equipped to do.
Yeah.
And then, if they would like your advice or your input, then you should weigh in on that. I mean, that's the other sort of advantage that we have is we've seen how so many small businesses operate.
Yeah.
So I can go in.
Perspective.
Yes. And so when I go into the family business where it's a husband and wife and one person has got one role and the other person has another role, we know how that
You're like,
dynamic.
Oh, we've seen that. We've been to this rodeo before.
I've done therapy sessions many times.
Yeah.
So, and I'm okay with that.
That's funny. Have you ever fired a client?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you fire them?
I fire them if they get a little bit too picky about how they want things to done, or if they treat my staff in a disrespectful way.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
What about if you're like, ooh, you seem kind of crooked?
Yes.
Do you get a fair amount of that?
Yeah, we I think my favorite one was a guy who was making synthetic urine. And he was to beat drug testing.
To give to athletes? Okay.
No, to be like if you had to do like a work drug test.
Sure.
And we looked at it and I was like, so is this legal? And he's like, well, it's not illegal per se. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think we can really work with you guys. So
How do you make synthetic urine?
I don't even know. But he was selling a lot of it. So on the internet.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. Okay, that's funny. When someone answers the question, well, then you're like, run. Okay. Right. And then what's like your best client? Like, or do you have someone who you love working with? Like, do you still take the call from like Jade's nail salon or?
I still have, I have this construction client in Los Angeles, and it's a husband and wife, and I absolutely love them.
Okay.
And, you know, the wife is like my mom. She just like wants to know what's going on. And I'm at the point where I've got other responsibilities and I don't do as much client work, but I've kept them because
you just love them.
I just love them. Yeah. You know, I do a call with the husband once a month just to go over like their real estate holdings. Okay. And it's almost like we don't really need to go over this stuff. But it's just kind of comfortable.
Same.
And we've got our dynamic. Yep. And it's so interesting to see how different they are.
Yeah.
Because he's very like hunter-gatherer, like I'm going to win this bid and I'm doing this. Yeah. And he's very idiosyncratic and very particular.
Okay.
And then she's like the diplomat. She can just be in the room and she's gregarious and she's and they work really well together.
Okay, that's great.
And they've been doing it for almost 20 years.
Okay.
So they've matured, and so you're sort of seeing like she knows when to call him out and be like, "Did you take your pills today? What's going on? Go take your pills." Like I'm talking to Jay right now, and it feels like a family.
Yeah, I love that.
And so that would be my favorite.
Okay, I love that. That's great. And what's your advice to, like, clearly you're good at math, you're well organized, you're rational. Like, what's your advice to people? Like, you know, like I sit with Daniela, my assistant, all the time, and she's like, "Oh, my credit card bill or this or that," and I'm just like, how do you give advice to young people, like personally, about how they think about their finances?
Yeah, so young people, it needs to be a discipline. I mean, that's where schools, I just think, do a disservice to our, you know, we teach calculus, but not personal finance.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I haven't used calculus ever. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like
geometry.
It was like a rite of purification. Like, did you get through calculus? Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, right.
When it really should just be, I mean, you should know about debt. I mean, I was a big fan of Dave Ramsey and Total Money Makeover. And it was,
I like Dave Ramsey.
It was interesting to learn that, you know, at one point, Sears, their whole business model of having stores, when they started offering interest, because interest wasn't a thing in the 20s and 30s, and they started offering store credit. At one point in the 60s, they were making more money off of their interest
than they were in the credit
than their store.
Yeah.
And then that became Discover Card.
Sure.
And it's like, people need to understand that there's a reason you're getting access to this. Like, it's not like too good to be true, and you want to build your credit, and I think there's an appropriate way to do that. But if you're spending more money than you're making, then you're living outside of your means. Yeah. And so I think my advice to you is, at a minimum, calculate the costs of your life. Like, get an app. There's so many apps right now where you can just like do the math. And people always think in terms of like monthly stuff. Like, oh, here's my rent and my car payment. And they don't think about things that happen annually. Yeah. Like, guess what? You're going to spend money on Christmas. You're going to buy presents. Like, it's not a surprise. It's going to come every single year. Just put a plan in place. Yeah. And I think that's, to me, planning is just sort of, you're setting aside time to say, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. You're not going to really look at the plan. Yeah. And that's what I've done, you know, for the last 15 years. Even with the businesses, I would take time to get away from distractions and actually map out, hey, where are my goals? What are my objectives? What do I need to do to hit those goals? Mm-hmm. And I just think the process of planning, it's kind of like studying. Like, you make flashcards to you know, to score well on a test. And just the process of making the flashcards is the studying. You don't actually need them. And so it's the same thing. Come up with a financial plan. Just write it out. It's not that complicated. Yeah. Look at your spending and look at it. Because a lot of people don't want to look.
They're like,
and that's where it's, those shoes. That's where it's like the emotional side.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I could be a therapist right now. Like, talk to me why you don't want to look at your credit card. Yeah. I mean, I had a client once where they were very affluent.
Okay.
I mean, really wealthy. And we were doing an inventory of all their stuff. And we asked them to have their bank statements and their credit card statements. And as they laid them all out, like I could see the wife's face. She's like, oh, I can't believe I still have that credit card. Like, I don't need that credit card. And I hadn't even said anything. She had already just like, the process of having to be like,
oh God, I'm spending that much money on that.
Oh my gosh, maybe we don't need this.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
not a good financial strategy.
That's a great summary. Don't be out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, and talk a little bit about what you're doing with us. Like, we're excited about our partnership. Are you excited about it?
I'm excited about it.
Okay, it's gonna be great.
No, I think that
I want the nerdy accountant guy. We're going to do a nerdy accountant guy segment.
Oh my gosh, Ethan's very excited about it.
Is he?
Yeah, he's great. He's ready to go.
I can't wait to meet Ethan.
He did a video and
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Great.
I'll share
Ethan's
that
coming
with you
on.
guys.
So Ethan's going to give us financial advice.
Yeah,
well, not really. There's probably a shitload of caveats I have to say.
He's great. No, I mean, I think the fund, when you guys said that you had reached 200,000 small businesses, to me, I just did the math and I'm like, okay, if these guys could all apply for the retention credit, there's probably $3.3 billion on the table in tax credits.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so my goal was, if I could just hit 1% of those people, we could recover $333 million.
That's amazing.
That would be fantastic.
Yep.
Right? And so I think our goal, what we like about Barstool is you're a small business that's grown, and that's us. We have that same story.
DNA.
Yeah, and I think that I look at you guys as a disruptor in a space, and that's what we are.
Yep.
We're not your father's accounting firm.
Yeah, I like that.
We're gonna come in and do things a little bit differently. And it's the sort of the norm in the accounting industry is, well, I've been doing this for a long time, and because of that, this is how you do it. And we're like, well, there's like technology.
Maybe.
There's technology, and maybe you should actually try to understand the client versus just telling them what to do. And so we're a disruptor from that standpoint. I think that we align because of that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're so psyched. What did you think about Sunday Conversations?
I think
excited. Caleb Presley talking about accounting is like, you've really accomplished something that I didn't think was possible.
Honestly, it's kind of incredible, and I'm excited to see
That's awesome.
how it plays out.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We're so excited. All right, so now that we've talked about all the accountants in my life, let's talk about what we're doing today. This is kind of like the last working day. I actually would be surprised if anybody's working by this point, so maybe there's more time to listen to this, but this is kind of the last working day before the holidays. We are working this holiday break. We're putting on the Arizona Bowl, which we're so excited about. Everyone is headed to Tucson. We've got salespeople down there. We've got a bunch of sponsors coming with us. All Business Pete has been there for months. Live Events Lisa. So we have a huge production. Dave and Dan will be coming. Frank the Tank is going. We got a whole crew. But what I'm excited about is, all jokes aside, I think we're going to show how to put on a bowl game in a way that's interesting to young people, in a way that's compelling, and in a way that's super dynamic. So we'll see how that goes, but that's coming up December 30th, so just a short 8 days from now. So once you get through Hanukkah and Christmas, and if you feel like having plans before you go to your New Year's party, you can watch the Arizona Bowl only on barstoolsports.com or barstoolsports.tv on the 30th of December. Let's just talk about Shopify. So I've gotten into the sale game. Did you get into the sale game, Mackenzie?
The sale game?
Like, do you buy things on sale?
Oh, yeah.
I love a good sale. All my favorite websites are on sale right now, which I always love. And then I have this guilt where I'm like, maybe I'm getting gifts for Christmas. I shouldn't buy myself stuff, but it's on such a discount and nothing costs more than $50, so I want to get it. Blah, my head just gets in a pretzel. Shopify helps it get there. So if you have a great idea, if you want to sell something on the internet, you've got a little business, you've got an e-commerce idea, you want to make t-shirts, you want to make clothing, you want to make hats, you want to make gloves, you want to make something that me or Mackenzie would buy, Shopify is an awesome platform for you. Shopify is an e-commerce platform for retail point-of-sale systems and online stores. We know a lot about e-commerce here at Barstool, and Shopify is our go-to partner. Shopify offers retailers a whole suite of services, including payments, marketing, shipping, and customer engagement tools. They let you manage your day-to-day, drive sales, and connect with customers. What's better than that? So go to shopify.com/tokenceo for a free trial. So if you've decided this holiday break, you're going to think about things, you're going to get your act together, you're finally going to put that photography business of yours on a website. Shopify is a great platform to manage your online sales, help you connect with your customers, and oversee your retail enterprise on a day-to-day basis. That's shopify.com/tokenceo for a free trial. Side note, that's all lowercase. We had an office incident happening a couple weeks ago, and I'm on a jihad to make our office a safer place to work. Maybe not saner, but definitely a safer place to work. So Enrique is going to hop in while I ate my lunch to talk about ideas that he, as the office manager, has for our office.
So I have Enrique. Enrique wants to talk about something for work, but it's the end of the year, and we're just limping our way to the end. So
we are.
All right, so why don't you describe for the good people who actually watch this show what happened?
Yes. So Friday we had an incident where someone came into the office and proceeded to cause a commotion and scene looking for Dave.
It was scary.
It was scary.
Do you agree it was scary?
Terrifying.
I thought it was scary.
Yeah.
I was scared.
I immediately texted a few people and checked in on how they were post the incident.
So it turns out this is a crazy person. Or no, he's a TikTok star. Same diff.
So well, the other one's like a political Twitter figurehead. The second one is like technically like not a real homeless person. They do it for social media.
They just pretend they're homeless for social media. Okay. So welcome to Barstool Sports. These guys are barging in our office, screaming. There's like an altercation in our lobby. The guy's got a camera, whatever. Now, you and I have been trying to get key card access to this floor for how long now? I think it's over a year. It's almost 2 years. I think we're heading on to 2 years. Yep. So we had an incident. We wanted key card access to the elevator. The building was kind of difficult about it. So then yesterday, Security Pat was like, I have a solution that I don't think we should do. And I was like, oh, let's absolutely do it and make this as fucking difficult as possible. So now, to get onto our floor, they have to unlock the key to let you go in the elevator. They lock the key. They lock the elevator after the person goes up. Total pain in the ass. It's going to create commotion. It seems like it's creating commotion and chaos downstairs. Is that fair? I think it's good for Barstool people to use the stairs. So I sent an email out this morning, which was maybe a little rude, but did you think it was rude?
No, I didn't think it was rude.
Funny.
Did you think it was funny?
I thought it was funny, yeah.
Yeah.
I was mad.
You had a lot of, some people enjoyed it.
Oh, really? Well, I'm mad. Also, if something happens and I didn't do my best, I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
they like that you care.
I do care. Okay. So enter Enrique's like, I need 3 minutes and welcome to this week's episode. So what do you got?
This is what I'm proposing. So I would like to not wait.
Sorry. Enrique is our office manager.
Yes, hello.
Do you have a better title than that?
Office operations manager.
Sorry, office operations manager. Also a VIP from the Q4 company meeting.
Thank you.
And was one of our most beloved people here. Sorry.
This is my plan. This is what I'm proposing.
All right, what are you proposing, Enrique?
I'm going to talk it through with Pat, but
Pat, the security guy.
We're going to one-way mirror all of our entrances. We can see out. No one can see in.
Ooh, that's smart.
That's step number 1. Second's going to be camera and voice intercom to the front desk and security desk so that they can voice who they're here to see.
Oh, okay. So you could get off the 3rd floor elevator and...
Yep.
Okay. I like that.
And then so that there's a second level of security in like vocal confirmation of knowing who they're here to see.
Yep.
And building on top of that, it would be all of our staff internally needs to be including talent. Everyone has to apply to it. Has to log in who they're having visit them that day through a system. Reasonable.
Yeah, fine.
It's low cost. We have an infrastructure built in for it. It's just a matter of installation.
Can I still make the building do the key card thing?
We can keep them struggling for a little bit longer.
I'd like to keep the struggle
but
downstairs.
I also would love for us to be in power of what keeps us safe.
Definitely.
And I think that definitely does and keeps us informed.
I love that. How quickly can you do it?
I'm going to have a call today to see when the time frame on that is.
I'm totally supportive of that, Enrique.
Yeah.
All right, describe your job here.
Sorry,
Enrique.
It's okay.
To do this to you, but
I run the office on an operations aspect, so I support every department, and I love doing it. And sort of, what Barstool is best at, which is making stuff and making things and entertaining people. And I keep them rolling, sort of on the underhand.
Yep. Okay. And what did you do before you came here?
I was an office and admin manager at a very small fashion not-for-profit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came here and you were like, holy shit.
8 people.
8 people.
Yeah. But before that.
But you came here. How long have you been here? 3 years?
I've been here. I just hit 3 years.
You just hit 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you love about your job and what do you hate about your job?
I love everyone here. Like, genuinely. Like,
nobody's rude to you?
People can be rude, but people are just people. And I don't take it personally. But the thing that keeps me coming back every day, like, I wasn't a fan of Barstool before I started working here. Someone reached out to me and I was like, sure. I mean, I actually had 2 offers, live events and this.
Okay.
Pandemic hit not too so long after I made the right choice.
Yeah. Okay, so that was good.
But then 3 years later, like, what keeps me here is, like, just how, like, much I love coworkers on 3rd floor and 2nd floor.
Yeah,
everyone's
you travel
great.
Everywhere.
Everyone cares. Everyone works hard.
What do you think the difference is between the 3rd floor and the 2nd floor?
I honestly don't think there's too much of a difference. I think it's all in everyone's head.
Yeah.
I would love if they met more. I try introducing anyone I can.
Oh, tell people what you started this year. So you've kind of taken on. So actually, I have 2 questions for you. One is that I think you're somebody who you have always been a great worker, but you weren't necessarily thriving at Barstool, and now I think you're thriving.
I agree.
Do you think that's fair?
I think it's very correct.
So what's your advice to people, like, if you're in a job, you have a manager, maybe you don't see eye to eye, or they don't believe in what you're doing, or you can't find your footing or your voice, like, how did you work through that? Like, what would your advice to people be?
I would say the thing that makes me most successful here and continues to, even when I necessarily didn't have see eye to eye with my manager, was building really good relationships, and social and communication skills are what going to make you successful at a job.
Okay, like around the table. You're like, and how did you ever have a moment where you're like, I'm going to quit, I hate this place?
No, I would say, like, working here is challenging. It's not easy, but I wouldn't want to work anywhere there where I thought it was easy.
Yeah, that's great.
And I enjoy the challenge of, you face it every day in a very different capacity, but working here is a daily challenge.
Oh, it's a day.
There's a million problems.
With a smile.
There's a million problems to solve every day.
It is a daily challenge. It's like you never know what you're going to get. But I like that.
I like it too. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't.
Yeah, I like that. I like that it's a little chaotic. I think that people here are very kind. Do you think people are very kind?
I think this is one of the best places I've worked.
Yeah, I think that's so nice.
And I tell people that. I was like, whatever reputation you think this company has, like, internally, it's a good place to work.
Yeah, it is a good place to work. What do you think we could do better?
From my own part, I think this office could be a lot more organized, but we're getting there.
It's very dumpy. Why is it such a dump?
There is a lot.
There's just a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff, and there's...
Does it make you crazy?
It does.
Is your apartment or your house or your room, like,
currently
messy?
Spotless.
Oh, spotless.
Listen, I like a lived-in place, because no one lives in a perfectly clean place.
Yeah.
Right now, my apartment is spotless, so I will brag about that. But...
How do you clean it yourself?
Me and my partner.
Do you love to clean your apartment?
Love to clean it. It feels so nice.
It feels so good, right?
You feel like you're somewhere else new.
Does he like it too, or do you do the cleaning?
It too.
Do you get mad when you're like, I do more cleaning than you?
We do the things that the other one doesn't like to do.
Oh, that's perfect. You're like the perfect couple. Okay.
It works out well.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so your apartment is spotless, and then you come here, and it's like, I wish people could see it. Just the amount of shit, like the amount of sweatshirts. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to send sweatshirts to the Ukraine. Can you help me with that?
Yeah, I think
we should send like 400 sweatshirts, which are lying around that entire alley of desks.
Yeah, I love getting rid of stuff.
Same, right?
You know,
but then it just shows up again.
We have 5 junk pickups and 2 donation pickups.
Really?
Just this week.
Just this week?
Yeah.
And where are they going? Where are the donation pickups?
Donation pickups I get a report at the end of each pickup where they all go. So where they go
really? That's so nice. Do we get a tax write-off?
We do.
That's great.
It's pretty
Enrique.
minimal, but yeah, we do.
Yeah, okay. Let's figure out how to send stuff to the Ukraine. Do you want to do that?
I'm excited for that, yeah.
Okay, they need winter clothes, and they need adult clothing, I've been reading. Like, they don't need kids' clothes. They need, like, adult clothing. Yeah, we have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's your year in review? Like, how'd you think this year went?
This year, for me? Just for me?
Yeah, me, Barstool.
Oh, we grew a lot this year. We accomplished a lot this year and tried a lot of new things this year.
Yeah.
And I think they were all things we really needed to do.
Yeah.
That ended up being really good for us.
Yeah, I agree. We have an HR department now. How do you feel about that?
I think it's
part
great.
Of that, right?
I am.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
But in other departments too, where we're headed and we're like taking turns.
Yeah.
In very positive ways, I think.
That's so great. All right. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's move to Q&A. You want to do Q&A? Okay, we'll do Q&A. All right, first question. I've officially become a manager and I've also acquired another department. So I have 3 employees that I manage. However, the employee I now manage was previously my coworker. Dun, dun, dun. This sucks. Managing someone who used to be your peer absolutely blows. It is the fucking worst.
I struggle with him, this person didn't say that, I'm saying that. I struggle with him constantly going around me to his previous boss, which is my current boss, on projects instead of me. Both myself and my boss have reminded him that I'm his direct supervisor, but he continues to cut me out of the chain of command. What advice do you have to overcome this? All right, first of all, this is like the worst. I think there's two really big managerial challenges. One is when you're new in your career or fairly early in your career and you have to manage someone who's way older than you or more experienced than you. I think that's stressful and hard. And then the absolute worst, the like big worst, the like big enchilada of management problems is managing someone who used to be a peer. It is so hard. So I'm so glad you asked that question. My advice would be to be head on about it. I think you need to confront your employee. And I think you need to confront this person and say, hey, I've given you, I think you need to sit down, maybe confront isn't the right word, but I think you need to sit down with this person and say, hey, here's my vision. Like, this is what I want to do with this team. Here's my plan for how I want to get there. Here's what my ask is of you as part of this team. And then I would put the elephant in the room and say, here's what I need you to stop doing, right? You need to stop cutting me out of the communication. You need to stop end running me. I wouldn't make it like a lecture. I would make it like, this is the standard and this is your expectation. I think you've got to show that you have a vision for this group. You've got to show that you have a plan for the future. You have to show strength as the manager and the boss. But I also think you need to say, I have no tolerance for being cut out of the loop. I have no tolerance for the non-completion of projects. I just don't stand for, the shit you're doing right now. Say it nicer than that in better words. But I think you need to set the standard. And then the second thing is, I think you need to be ready to have consequences. Before you have this conversation with this person, I think it's worthwhile for you to meet with your boss and say, look, I can't be successful in this position if this person continues to undermine me. Obviously, what we're doing isn't working. If you're both reminding this person that he shouldn't be doing this and he still does it, it means that he thinks he's having success doing it. So what I would lay out for your boss is, here's what I'm going to tell this guy. I'm going to lay out my vision. I'm going to outline what my plan is, and I'm going to state what my expectation is of him. And then you need to say, like you would for any employee, if this person can't follow that, then that person has no role on my team. And then you put the person on a performance review, or you manage them out, or maybe you fire them if there's a reason to do so. I think the biggest thing here is you and all of your employees see this guy end running you or undercutting you, and everyone is making a judgment about it. So the longer you let it go on, the worse it is. The second thing is, I would just be straight up of like, why do you keep doing this? Like, I told you not to do it. Why are you doing it? And that conversation is going to be uncomfortable, and I think it's going to be tense. You need to maintain calmness and control, but I also wouldn't be afraid to like call him on his bullshit, which is, why are you doing this? And then see what his answer is and get to the bottom of it, and maybe you can resolve and end up in the same place. But I think you've got to say, I have no tolerance for this, and this is not meeting my expectation. And then if the person doesn't meet your expectation, then you gotta manage the consequences. I would also put this in writing, because I think sometimes when you put things in writing, they tend to become more serious. Second question, what do you do when your boss gets on weekly calls with you and just complains about their job to you, and then you're left feeling like all you do is try to make them feel better? And then when you go try to find other mentors, they seem petty and jealous that you do that. Ugh, your boss sounds terrible. One, your boss should find some friends or some peers that they can talk to. Like, I think it's totally inappropriate. Like, obviously everyone has their moments. I obviously have my moments when I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. I got to tell somebody about it. But I certainly don't tell everybody about it. And I think the worst thing of it all is usurping the time that you and your boss have to grow your business and to move your team forward and to help your career and to finish projects or elevate projects or whatever to use them just to complain. So I think in this case, you have a manager who's kind of insecure, who seems pretty negative, who can be unprofessional. That's probably not a great recipe for a great manager over time. So you may want to think about how successful you're going to be in this position long term. The second thing is everybody should have mentors. Everyone should be connected to a lot of different people inside of a company and to learn from all of those people. And if your manager is so insecure that they don't want you to be mentored or supported by other people, that's a really bad sign in general and going well beyond your mentorship. So I think in this case, I would try to delicately or lightly kind of interrupt the usual flow of things by saying, hey, on this week's call, can we go through these 5 things that I'm working on? I really need some help with blah, 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 or whatever it may be. I think if you could start the call and set the tone for the call and keep the length of the call just short enough so it's just focused on those things, maybe you can sidestep some of the complaining. I think the second thing is if you want things to be better from, your manager supporting you, having other mentors, I would just say like, hey, one of the things I'm going to do is talk to this person, because I'd really like to learn more about blah, 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 blah. And I think this person has some interesting insights. And I just wanted to make sure you were aware that I'm going to do that. And then I think the third thing is for you really to think about your relationship with this manager and this manager in general. And if the right spot for you might be with a different manager or on a different team, or, this sounds dramatic or drastic, maybe at a different company. But in general, I think your manager really, really, really matters. And if you have a manager that's petty and is just dumping their shit on you or just complaining all the time, that's not a great environment for you. And at the end of the day, you've just got to worry about your career. Last one. I've been offered the CEO position at my company, but it's contingent on many things, such as securing a large funding round, laying off several people, and getting through the review process with my peers and current direct reports. Currently, I'm the COO. The comp is also pretty small and not much different than what I'm making now as the COO. Am I crazy to turn down the offer and remain COO? Yes, you're crazy. You should take this opportunity. Fuck it. Get the CEO title. Take the step up. Make the move. You may only want to be a CEO there for a year. Or maybe, I wouldn't recommend shorter than that, but I wouldn't say no to the opportunity. I think, because then ultimately, it sounds like you work for a fairly small company. This is a good chance for you to step up. It sounds like you're dealing with the same amount of problems that you would be dealing with anyways if you stayed in the COO role. But if you stay in the COO role, then you're going to get a boss to deal with, right? Which is man, maybe the company doesn't need a CEO and a COO. So I would be thinking about what you would do in this CEO role. I would be focused on, okay, sure, it's contingent on these number of things. I'd be thinking about what your vision is for the role, what you think you can do in the role, what you would need to be successful in the role, all that kind of stuff. I also feel like these are kind of big things. The laying off people isn't a big factor, but making it through the review process and securing a big funding round, those are massive, massive ifs. So the one thing I would say is I would kind of just ride this one out. I would certainly keep my hat in the ring. I would not turn it down to stay COO, but it sounds like this is a big if on you getting the position in the first place. So I would play it through. And then I would think about, depending on what happens, maybe the funding comes through and the layoff happens and all your peers agree and it's great. Voila, you're like a CEO. Or maybe it doesn't happen and you're the COO anyways, which is the job you have today. And it's kind of no harm, no foul. Although I bet if you don't make it through that process, you'll want to think about going to be a CEO somewhere else. So long story short, go be a CEO. All right, so this is our last episode of the year. We're off next week. I think it's always kind of hard before you go on break to be like, oh, I'm going to have so much clarity of thought, or I'm going to spend so much time thinking about where my life is going or what I want to do at work or what I'm trying to achieve. But I do feel like this is a good point in the year to kind of reframe and rethink what it is you want to do for the next 6 months. I think the holiday season gets so crowded and cluttered and there's so many commitments and you're like, where does all the time go? That I do think it's great to pull back at some point over the break and just say, all right, we have 3 months coming up ahead, which is Q1, or 6 months, which is the first half of the year. What are the things that are really important to me that I either stick to, that I start doing, or I stop doing? And honestly, I would keep it that simple. Like, what am I going to keep doing that I've started? So like for me, I'm trying to get up and work out every day. I have like spent 2 years being insanely lazy. I've obviously been through a lot personally. Like I have just not prioritized my health and my fitness and my strength. I remember getting to this point last year and I was like, oh my God, I'm like such a stress ball. So this year I'm like, all right, great. I have my shit together by the time, the holidays roll around. I just want to stick with that. So I want to stay focused on my health. I want to stay focused on my fitness. I want to stay focused on my strength. I think the second thing, is in terms of what you want to start doing and what you want to stop doing. I have 1,000 of those, which we can talk about, I think, in the beginning of the new year because I'll have had more time to think about them. But, for me, the things I want to start doing is I really want to start making Barstool be a place that operates better, that operates more consistently and more seamlessly, that like we really start to have a structure that's sustainable. I don't feel like it's super sustainable right now. I think the brand is it's electric. I think the brand can become anything, but I think it's so built on people and human capital and like just insane effort and grit inside of this place that that's what I worry about being sustainable. So I want to start doing things that make it more sustainable. I want to stop doing things that put, me at the center of every decision or too involved in the process or not holding people accountable and stuff like that. So those are the things that I'm thinking about, both from a life and a work perspective. And then I think the most important thing is, what is it that you want to do going into the new year that feeds you? Like, do you want to make a t-shirt company and put it on Shopify? Like, we joke about that during our ad, but why not? Do you want to start painting? Do you want to read more, for example? Like, I'm feeling like I don't ever read. Like, I sit on the train and I'm like either slacking people, which isn't healthy and great. So I want to stop doing that. That's on my list of things I want to stop doing. But I'm like, why don't I just read a book? Like, I always like that about Peter Chernin. He like always is like, literally has like a book under his arm. Like, it's the cutest thing ever. So I'm like, God, I should read more. It gives you such great perspective. It lets you learn. So I want to do that. And then the biggest thing is like just to say thank you to everybody for the end of the year. Like, I'm so grateful for everyone at Barstool. I want to say thank you to everybody who helps this company, who pushes this company, even the people, honestly, who criticize and shit on this company, because ultimately you're going to make us stronger and better. And I think the same is true as people, like thank the people who help make you you. Say thank you to the people who enable you. Be personal about it. Be human about it. And be grateful for it. And then, I don't know, like have a little bit of champagne on New Year's Eve and then just get ready to hit the new year. So that's it. That's all I got, Mackenzie. Bye-bye 2022.